I'd like to call to order the Trotwood-Madison City School District regular meeting to order, October 17, 2019. Ms. Allen, will you call the roll?
Mrs. Bozeman?
Yes.
Mr. Scares?
Yes.
Mrs. Jeter Freeman?
Yes.
Ms. Moore?
Yes, the meeting has now been called to order. Please join us in a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I now need a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
So moved.
I'll second.
It's been moved and I have a second. Any changes? Any additions, addendums? Being none, Ms. Allen, will you call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Andrews?
Yes. That was me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's Mr. Scares.
Mr. Scares?
Yes.
Mrs. Jeter Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Andrews?
Yes.
Ms. Bozeman?
Yes.
And Ms. Moore?
Yes. The agenda has been adopted. Ms. Allen, do we have any comments this evening?
I do not have any this evening.
Thank you. Next up on the agenda, we're going to move right into the presentations. Tonight we have Maria Joseph, Care Center. We have Sister Alice scholarship information from Sarah Maddox and the assistant administrator, and Tracy Martin, the assistant director of nursing. Ladies, please come forward.
Good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
My name is Tracy Martin. I'm the Assistant Director at the Maria Joseph Center right here in Trotwood, that whole brick building that takes up that huge block of land. And we have adopted a scholarship program for Sister Alice, who is a volunteer at our facility, has been for the last 35 years. The Sisters of the Precious Blood and the Maria Joseph Center are proud to come together to present the Sister Alice Scholarship Program. The scholarship presents a great opportunity for those looking to become a state-tested nursing assistant. The inspiration for the scholarship comes from one of our very own, Sister Alice, and she has touched countless lives, including my own. I started Maria Joseph in 1997 as a nursing assistant. Sister Alice approached me and said the Sisters of Precious Blood had some money to give to help somebody who was willing to go ahead in their education, and I was one of those people. So I was able to graduate my LPN program debt-free partially because of some of the scholarship that Sister Alice and the Sisters of Precious Blood allocated for me. So she's a big part of why I went to school and part of my career. I went on to get my RN, my BSN, and now Assistant Director of Nursing. So she's a big part of the community. She's a big part of Maria Joseph, and she's a big part of who I am today. And this program, I think, will be a great thing for people who want to be SCNAs. If caring is your thing, then why not get paid for doing what you love to do? And if you love to do it, it's not a job. So we're just looking for people who are really dedicated, who are caring, kind-hearted, want to show dignity and love and caring to people in the community. And I think this is a good way for us to spread out to the community and assist with people who probably wouldn't ordinarily have the funds or the finance to do it. So that was part of the reason why we started the scholarship.
So the scholarship, and it says we have applications. So if you want to take them back to the high school or whatever and disperse, we'll cover the actual course for STNA as well as test. And then, you know, our hope would be that they would come to Maria Jo and work. And then if they want to further their career, then we have a scholarship. I've been there 1.5 years. We've done it 3 times since I've been there. And for our own employees, we've given at least 3
Yes.
each time. So
we
at
have
least
17, we allocated 17 people to go to school for further education. And it's not necessarily once they get in, they have to be nursing. We do it for, if you want to be a mechanic, we will help you with that. This is to further your education, to give you a step ahead, because I know sometimes it's hard. And sometimes you just need that little extra to get you over the hump. And sometimes that helps.
So it's not specific to nursing. So you can come in, work as an STNA, go to school, and then apply for the Sister Alice scholarship internally, and then we have somebody now that's going for surgical tech, I believe, and her hope is to work at Dayton Children's. So she's working as an SDNA, and then hopefully we'll move on when she's done with school, so.
Awesome.
And then I'll get to start right here in Trotwood.
Yeah,
All right, all right.
Can we share that information with parents, or is it student specific? Or looking for graduating seniors, or can we share that with adults as well?
You can share with graduating seniors.
Graduating.
The adults are the ones basically who are already in the Maria Joseph.
Oh, they already
Yeah.
work
they're
there.
But if you want to become state tested, we can do that as far as like CTC or Trotwood schools.
Okay,
You can, yeah, because they have to be 16 years old.
so the scholarship is for students.
Absolutely.
And all of it, the papers that I leave, all of it will be on there as to what's needed and the deadline. So we just open the scholarship on the 15th, and it will run for a month. So we'll take applications until November 15th. But we have talked as far as for students, not our own employees, but for students, to leave that open a little bit longer, maybe not necessarily have a deadline, because the funds are a little bit different between the two, for our own employees and then for the STNA applicants.
So what are the requirements again for the students? You said 16?
The requirements for the STNA certification program must be 16 years of age or older, must have good attendance record at school, must provide proof of enrollment in STNA courses, must provide STNA courses, the fee information, must complete the application in full with 2 letters of recommendation by the deadline, and they must agree to work for Maria Joseph for a minimum of 6 months after receiving the scholarship.
How much is the scholarship for?
For the STNA, it is for their tuition and testing fees, so whatever that,
Oh, okay.
their facility.
Wherever they
Yeah.
choose to go.
What was the acronym STA?
Nursing assistant.
State tested nursing assistant.
Nursing assistant.
Tested nursing assistant?
Yes, ma'am.
Sounds like a wonderful program. Along the lines of students from Trotwood, how many open applications did you say? 4? Okay, there's only 4, okay. And along the lines of them getting started, once they fill out the documentation, it goes through the process. When does it actually start? Right after graduation, or can they start
They
anytime?
can start at any time.
And what we do is the assistant superintendent will get the application and the people who got their scholarship, and they'll send the checks to the facility that they're going to school for.
So in theory, they could actually work there and still be in school at the same time.
Wow. And get paid.
Right.
Any other questions? Mr. Howard, you'll follow up, definitely. We have information.
Yes, and we have applications too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that great?
I make quite a bit, so you guys can, you want to pass them down, pass them around.
Well, thank you so much. We definitely will be, we will make sure that superintendent will disseminate that information. We'll meet those deadlines. I'm looking forward to many students taking advantage of this opportunity. It's a great opportunity.
We've only been doing it for about a year or so, so I don't know if maybe down the line we might tweak it and do some more things, open it up. I don't know if any more finances will be available, but this kind of thing is kind of touching on what we're ready to work for. Is get people out there.
Wonderful. Mr. Howard, typically this goes through the counseling department.
It would, I think one of the things we need to consider is, would you guys be interested in coming, if necessary, talking to some of the students about what an STNA is? I think our students that are at CTC probably have a very clear understanding and would be very eager to pursue this. But, some of the students that are still in the general ed program may not really know what an STNA is.
Absolutely, and I mean, even open our facility up
Right.
to see, because I think sometimes what you think as a nursing home in your head is not necessarily what it is when you walk in.
That's a really
Senior field trip.
Yeah. A field trip?
All right.
Yeah.
And
There we go.
I know Denise, you're a frequent flyer, but if you haven't been in the building, feel free to come in,
Yeah.
take a tour,
So is one of your contact information on here?
Mhm.
Okay, so what I can do is probably touch base, not probably, but I'll touch base with the counselors and see if we can gauge some interest and then possibly set up a field trip
Absolutely.
for a few
I didn't
seniors.
get into nursing thinking I was really gonna actually stay in it. I was doing it just because I needed to survive.
Right, right,
But then I got into it, I'm like, I'm kind of good at this.
right.
And I actually kind of like it, you know, if you care about people. Sometimes I'm the only face they see every
Right.
day. Or the nurses or the nursing assistants are the only face they see on a regular basis. And it actually becomes something that you're not doing, but you're just sharing me and giving of yourself. And they look forward to that. And sometimes we're all they have, so that's a big thing for me.
But I feel like even the other side of nursing, there's more to it. I mean, I'm a licensed nursing home administrator, so I'm on the business side, but I like it because I still have that patient family contact, you know. Tracy's not necessarily on the floor, she sits at a desk all day, but you know, so there's so many different avenues that you can take in healthcare, so.
Yeah, when I heard about this and Sarah shared it, and I thought, oh my gosh, Trotwood has got to at least have the opportunity. I mean, you guys are in Trotwood. This is our city.
And a career in nursing is awesome. I mean, it's like selling shoes, you're always gonna need them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much, guys. All right. You guys have a great evening.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have the 21st Century Before and After School Program Update, Tasha Johnson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Evening.
For those of you that don't know me, of course, my name is Sasha Johnson, and I am the program manager for the 21st Century Program. I have a slideshow I want to share with you all, if that's okay, just to kind of give you some updates on where we are with the program. First of all, the 21st Century Program is a very sought-after program, a grant. So it's a prestigious grant, and we're honored to be in our second cycle of the grant. So the grant was awarded previously, we had a renewal, and now we're in year 3 of our second cycle of at a 5-year grant. The number one goal of our grant and our program is to provide high-quality programs centered around the whole child and family development that provides access and opportunities. So we do have students that are in a situation that is unfortunate and they may not have the access, but that doesn't mean that they shouldn't have the opportunity. So we want to ensure that we provide those opportunities in our school system so that they get the same experiences that others who might have advantages to receiving those opportunities. There are 5 performance measures that 21st Century grants are based off of. And as you can see, we want to demonstrate educational and social benefits and positive behavior changes. So this program does support our district's PBIS systems. We also want to deliver the high quality programs. Currently, we're partnered with the Summer and After School Collaborative, which is a group of program managers throughout our state that come together and we meet to try to just kind of see how we can gauge what a high quality program looks like, and to kind of collaborate and make changes and amendments or mimic what's happening in other areas that receive high growth rates. The third measure is that we'll ensure that out-of-school activities target students' academic needs and align with the instruction during the school day. And I'll talk a little bit more about how we support that in a little bit. The fourth one is delivering evidence-based educational development opportunities that promote family engagement. So our parent engagers and our family engagement coordinator is very active in supporting our program and making sure that we involve our families. We also want to make sure that we support them at home and again at school. And then our last measure is based off of maintaining relationships and establishing them with our community partners. And I'll explain some of our partners shortly. According to ODE, the whole child in school learning domains, of course, focus on foundational knowledge and skills, having well-rounded content, leadership and reasoning, and social emotional learning. And if you notice, on the next slide I'm going to show you, there's one additional piece that is very imperative that we add into our programs and we support as our district that ODE doesn't capture in theirs, which is our purple section, which is family engagement and support. We really have to make sure that we provide those supports to our families, not only just for our students, but also for our community. So this is the model that was developed based off of using the ODE domains, and then also our partners in the collaborative to ensure that we're focusing on the whole child. And underneath each color, you'll notice there's examples of how our program will support those. Student benefits. If we have students in our program and we deliver a high quality program, the expected outcomes, of course, is to increase academic performance. It's all about growth. We did have a stakeholders meeting today, and Dr. Stock is our evaluator for 21st Century, and he also evaluates the programs that are in the summer and after school collaborative. And what we noticed in our K-3 programs is that our data seems to exceed the growth rates for the national norms in our K-3 programs. But in 4 and 5, we're still below the national average, but we are showing some growth. It's just not in comparison to the national average. So we know that that's a focus area that we want to target this year to find out what we need to do to have that excellent news with our 4th and 5th grade. We also will have increase in attendance. So if we're engaging them in high quality activities, the students will want to participate. We are going to focus on healthy eating habits, exposure to, enrichment opportunities, and again, arts, crafts, social emotional learning, all of those different areas. The variables that influence this is our attendance. If our students are, obviously, because we're one of the districts that provided in there on the collaborative, most of them are outside resources like Boys Club. So they're coming from public schools or private schools over to those businesses to provide those, but we actually have an internal program. So our students can't miss school and then attend our program, whereas it's not as easily tracked if you were going to like a Boys Club where you might have missed school and you can go there in the evening. So we want to make sure that we have our students to attend during the day and throughout. We want to make sure that we engage internal staff support, again, our parent engagement. Our community support comes in with our partners, and we just want to communicate to all of our stakeholders so that they're aware of what we're doing and we receive input. Family benefits. As a parent, you want to know that your child is safe and secure and that their needs are being met. So if your child is in a quality program for before and after school, it establishes stronger relationships within your family. Again, the things that the students do in the program, we want them to go home and share with their families. So if we provide access to the students, then their family also receives access. And we also want to create family involvement opportunities. This year, we want to practice character education and also career education. And so we want to extend opportunities for families to be able to come in and talk about what characteristics are important in their jobs and to give exposure to that for our students. Again, the same variables that influence the outcome for our families are the same variables that influence our students. And then lastly, how does that benefit our community? If you look, the variables haven't changed. The same factors are important there, but we'll have positive citizenship that's displayed, our community development. If our students are doing the things that we need to do, our families are doing, then investors want to come in and they want to continue to create and build and develop in our areas. We have an increase in our community pride. The stakeholders, again, will invest. And then we'll establish neighborhood support, that community relationship. This year, our main partner is the Dayton Metro Library with Trotwood branch. They will be supporting us 2 days this year. Typically they do 1, but they wanted to support additionally this year, so we'll have them for 2 days. Ohio State University Extension, Nutrition and Fitness, they'll be a partner with us. And then this year, we're bringing back Darren Bell, who's the thing that I'm excited about with Darren Bell is in our day for our students, we have restorative justice programs. And the way that I identify restorative justice is that's the effect of what has happened. We want to focus on restorative practices, which is preventative. We want to work on teaching the students, again, character ed, decision-making, all of those things that prevent them from having to go to the other end. We want to work on that positive side and not have to look at what didn't you do, but what did you do that was correct in that sense. And then the last piece is the summer and after school collaborative, which is a part of Learn to Earn. And we have a lot of components in the district that work with Learn to Earn, so we're glad to have them as partners. Hours of operations, our staff will be there at 6:30 to prepare for our students. The morning session, we have early drop off at 6:45, but it's for 7 to 9 in the morning or 7 until school starts because each building is staggered. Lead teachers work a little bit early. They prep, they make sure that everything is in line and in compliance and set up for the day. This year we have pairs and teachers. Last year we did not have teachers within the building that were active. And then of course our students can come from 6:45 to 9 in the morning, and then right after school until 5:30, 5:40, or 5:50 respectively, according to the buildings that they're in. So they're getting over 20-something hours if they're attending before and after of enrichment and intervention. This year, we are following the grant parameters, each grant, and we have 2 grants. The first grant is with Madison Park, which includes grades K through 3. So it covers ELC and Madison Park. There's 50 students there for each building, so that's 100 students. And then at Westbrook Village, for 4th and 5th grade, there's 50 students that are there. So a total of 150 students will be able to service. What we did was focus on our bubble students this year. So those were the students that either just passed according to their NWA MAP scores, or they were around 10 points away from it. The reason we chose to focus on the bubble students is because our ratio is a 1:18 ratio. And with it being a 1:18 ratio, it's not far from what our class sizes are, about 1:24. So we need students that can work somewhat independently in that larger setting and also have the ability to be pulled out versus something that's more specific to tutoring where you're working with 1 to 3 students at a time. There is also room for gifted students to be identified. We want to make sure that we provide those opportunities for gifted students and continue to enhance what they have as well. Once we've exhausted that list, then we'll focus on 3rd grade for that 3rd grade guarantee. Kindergarten will be another area to target to make sure our students are where they need to be to start out in our program. And then it would be open to people that would want to participate after that particular point. Program highlights, daily math and reading interventions. Children will participate in music education, including drama, dance, or music. Students will have the opportunity to participate in STEM activities. We have extracurricular activities, literacy support with the library. Again, they're receiving breakfast at school. They will have snack and dinner. This year we'll have opportunity to work with learning.com, which is an adaptive keyboarding program that also focuses on coding and Google activities and applications. Health and wellness with our Ohio State University SNAP Ed. And then we also have, again, restorative practices through music education and social emotional learning enrichment. And then our transportation is being provided for our PM services so that we know that our parents can work without having to wonder where our students are and know they'll arrive home safely. Our future leaders, I just kind of shared some pictures from last year where we had nutrition games and recipes. So for instance, last year, the students, some of them had their first experience with guacamole. They were able to make it and have the recipe and be able to share that with their family. So they enjoyed that experience, but it also dealt with portion control and they had games that went with that lesson. Literacy games. One of their favorites was breakout. We didn't have an actual breakout facility, but the library actually brought in different locks, some that had numbers, some that had letters, words they had to spell out to be able to do it. They had to solve literacy puzzles to be able to open those locks, so they were excited about breaking out. And then collaboration and teamwork. So there we worked, that was during manufacturing week. So they were able to build planes. They worked on an assembly line, talked about what the manufacturing industry is like. So they had a life skill lesson that was there. That was just a picture at the end when the kids broke out with. And then we had one of our students that you acknowledged at one of the board meetings for his quick thinking and problem solving skills. I can't attribute that necessarily to the program itself. I believe his mom has to get credit for being an awesome mom, but I believe that we implement some things that allow students to be able to maintain in those situations as well. This is just a list of operational requirements that we have to have for compliance which is shared with you, so you can read over that at your leisure. Staffing requirements. So it's not typical to what we would do after school. If there's an after-school program, then we were in district. There are certain requirements for those, but 21st Century has quite a bit of extensive requirements for it to operate. And then this year for professional development opportunities, we have gym play services with an opportunity for our staff members to receive graduate credit at University of Dayton. Darren Bell is going to come in and do some for social emotional learning for the adults as well as the students. The summer and after school collaborative. Last year I was able to go to, or earlier this year, excuse me, to New York to an after school national conference where I was able to gain, understanding of what goes on in other programs, to see what opportunities were out there that we could provide for our students and vice versa. And that comes with collaborating with that particular group. And then we also have the Montgomery County ESC that is available for PD for our staff members as well. This is my favorite motto that I live by, and I hope our staff does. Students don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. If you're not invested and if the students don't feel that you care about them, it doesn't matter what knowledge you have. And so this is the emphasis that we want to have with our staff members to ensure that we're building those relationships with our students and we receive the growth measures that we want to see. Thank you. That's the end of my PowerPoint. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns?
I do have some.
Okay.
How much is actually being spent on student and staff per program? So what is the ratio of amount of money that's being used to actually staff the after-school program and the amount of money that's actually being spent on the student? Do we know that amount?
I can get you the actual budget through Mr. Howard, but what I can tell you is in the initial stages of the program, there's a larger amount of money that's spent. So ideally, the way that it should work with a grant is you should purchase most of your materials when you have most of the money, because as you start to get to year 3 and 4 and 5, the money starts to cut down to where you have nothing. You have to have sustainability.
Mhm.
So ideally, as we're getting to this point in time, most of our money is being spent in requirements for staffing, as far as the trainings that they have to have, like first aid, the communicable disease, all of those, and then also the staffing to run the program.
Okay.
So in the earlier stages, you have that larger money to actually do that.
So I also saw that you guys are working with the Ohio State Extension. Was there no opportunity to work with the Central State Extension that's in Trotwood?
There probably was opportunity. Ohio State SNAP Extension was there prior to me. So they've been an ongoing partner.
Okay.
And it was kind of that understanding that they would kind of continue from there. So it's not that we couldn't have done it that way. It was just, there was partnerships that were already established prior to me.
Okay. And the gifted students that were chosen to be a part of the program, how were they chosen?
We have a list of the students that are there, and some are identified as gifted. Again, we look under that whole umbrella of, are they third grade? We know we have this big third grade test that's coming up. Are they kindergarten? Some of them were students that participated before that also fell under the parameters of that margin, that bubble as well. So they could have been identified from that. So initially we started out with that range of, in that reading or math area, who met the requirements for that. And then some of them just kind of fell in that way.
Okay. And then the bubble students, I understand why we target those particular students, but when is there ever a time where the additional resources that we have are spent on children that may not be on the bubble, that we know need the additional help? Not saying that the bubble students don't, but when is there ever a time that we actually invest that? And if not for this program, when is something like that ever possible?
Okay, so we do have additional funds, especially with the new negotiation where there's club opportunities. So there's funds set aside for clubs at each building to be able to utilize for enrichment activities, but also for additional supports. And then Ms. Minor will probably share some information later regarding, because the question comes up to me, if my child doesn't qualify for this program, what is available? So there is an opportunity that is coming up for additional tutoring and
Okay.
supports for those students that did not qualify for 21st century.
As extensive as the 21st century program is?
It will be, but I believe that they will also be able to work in smaller numbers as well. So they might be able to accommodate those 1-to-3 ratios, 1-to-5 ratios as well.
Okay.
So that is coming this year.
Under the update section, we'll have Ms. Minor speak to that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Were there any other questions?
A good
Yeah,
presentation.
I know that the Ohio State extension was already set in stone. However, are there those opportunities to work with Central State because they are local, they are in our community, they are at the community center, and they want to work with us? As a matter of fact, I don't know if you guys recall, they actually came out and they talked about their programming, they talked about the agriculture and all of those things that were a part of their plan. So how do we go about, maybe during the update, could you maybe speak about that?
We do have a meeting with Central State to do just that
Yeah,
on November 1st.
Okay,
yeah.
And there's always room for partners, so there's no cutoff.
okay.
As long as it works with us, and most of our partners are not being paid. This is what they're doing for us. So we can extend partners throughout the whole time. It's just a matter of them expressing interest and getting in contact with us.
Yeah, when we were walking around at the
At the picnic.
family
Family
picnic,
reunion.
there was a young man there from Central State, and they were offering tutoring, but they needed to, so I think we have his
Yeah, we have his
contact.
information. They had some healthy eating stuff
Right.
too. Yeah.
Right, so he wanted to do tutoring. The other resource, and we're already using them, but is the library. But I don't know if it's the same program, because the tutoring that they mentioned for the library seemed to be,
The homework.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
we,
what it is.
that's what Danny Gusevich and Caitlin was.
Okay.
We work directly with them
okay,
in assisting with that planning. So when they went about there, they tutor on, I think it's Tuesdays and Thursdays,
Maybe.
6 to 8.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And when they planned their time, we sat down and we met to talk about how could they still support our program, but also be available. And that's where that 6 to 8 time came from, because our program's in 5:30, 5:40, 5:50. So if our students still want to leave from there and go there, or they have other family members, they wanted to be able to support what we're doing, but also provide something that's there. And we know that our staff and students are utilizing that resource at this particular time. They're seeing more than they typically have saw. I think last year they said they had one volunteer that just kind of sat there the whole time. And now they have several volunteers and several students and staff members that are coming in on those days. So it has been successful thus far.
It'll be great to get those numbers. Okay, can we do that? Get those numbers just to see how many students are actually taking advantage of that and how we're promoting it. So,
And if this is the third year, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
no,
off.
go right ahead.
And if this is the third year for the 21st century program, I think we had once asked prior leadership, then we should already have the budget for next year. Now, how that incorporates itself into, what's being done for this year, but I think it sets itself up to be able to tell us really for the next 2 years, what the budget will be and what the expectation is for how the money will be spent. So whenever the budget is presented for 21st century, it really needs to provide the budget for 2020 and the expectation for 2021, because it just helps us be proactive about how we're going to wisely spend the money and where we're going to make those necessary investments.
And what we're going to have to do is develop a sustainability plan at this particular point in time, because it does go down significantly for next year, and that 5th year, there is nothing. At that particular point in time.
And that is why we need the forecasting
Right.
planning, because if it's gonna come from the general fund or somewhere else, we need to start working on those funds, knowing what that dollar amount looks like.
I
for
can
our
get to
budget.
Mr. Howard, and he can make sure that you have it.
Any other questions? Thank you. Great presentation.
Thank you.
We're going to go on to item 4, which is our consent agenda. We have item A, approval of meeting minutes from September 5th, 2019 and September 19th, 2020. We have B, acceptance of scholarship funds for music scholarship. Item C, acceptance of donations for the district in Westbrook Village. Item D is approval of high school yearbook, student activity purpose statement, and budget for FY '20. And E is an out-of-state field trip. I need a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Being none, Ms. Allen, will you call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Scares,
Yes.
Mrs. Jeter Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Mrs. Bozeman,
Yes.
Ms. Moore.
Yes. Motion passes. Next item up is the item 5 treasurer's report. And that's the resolution to approve September 2019 financial reports.
Okay, I have, under 5A, have 3 documents that I would like to go over. The first one is the cash reconciliation for the month of September 2019. We did have a finance committee meeting this evening, so we did review this and other reports. But this one has your bank statement balances at the top, your investment balances. The total investments is $28,977,031.09. If you add the bank, the PNC general account, that totals $36,215,883.43. If you subtract the outstanding checks that have not cleared the bank yet, and there was a payroll adjustment of $1,972.67, that was for the retirement for both the school employees and the state teachers' retirement monies. That was for August 30th, and that had to be an adjustment that will fall off for next month. So with the adjusted bank balance, that matches exactly to what is on the Meta financial system. So our variance bank to book is 0. The next schedule is Form SM2, which shows your revenues and your expenditures. And you can see your monthly actuals as well as your fiscal year-to-date actuals. I did want to call your attention to, we did receive our real estate taxes this month, $3.3 million, which I'm always happy to see. And then you can see the expenditures either for the month of September or fiscal year-to-date through September. And then at the end, you can see the ending cash balance of $31,773,081. And then we have outstanding encumbrances or outstanding purchase orders. The last one is checks over $1,000. The Finance Committee asked questions about several of them, and I would like to just go over them. I actually pulled the check packets, so bear with me. I think it's like 5 or 6 questions. The first one was for the amount of $5,642, and that was to Cengage Learning. And it says here that's for chemistry, fast track, and maybe Ms. Minor can help me on this, chemistry and digital bundling for AP courses. And so that was for a total of $5,642. Anything else you want to say?
Resources that we need. We significantly increased our advanced placement courses at the high school. And so we needed to purchase more materials. So that's part of that from the courses that are required for them to be prepared for the AP exams.
The next one was in the amount of $3,259.64. That was to Phonak, and that was check number 93291. On the backup, it says Roger touchscreen mic. This is from the special education department. Touchscreen mic, 3 Roger X, and it just says that, and 4 audio shoes. I have no idea.
I think that's for our hearing impaired student.
Yes.
That's some,
language device
right.
Okay,
for
thank you.
students with disabilities.
Thank you. The next one is to Flynn Scientific, and that's an amount of $2,036.04. With various things on a periodic table, metric rulers, something about sheep brain. You know anything about that? Ms.
I
Minor?
might have to check that, but it sounds like something for our STEM courses.
Yes.
We had to purchase more materials for that.
Vista Lab, yes. Thank you.
Labs.
The next one is, in the amount of $2,000 to SMORE, and I happen to know the answer to this. SMORE is a vehicle or, to generate newsletters, and I always get an ELC in a Westbrook Village on Sunday night, and they actually use SMORE, and it is a way to just do different things. So I myself would like to learn more about that, but that is a district-wide license. Before, we used to do it per school, and we thought we could save money this year by having one license as opposed to going to each different school building. So that's what that was. Another question was on a voided check. It was in the amount of $1,501.50. And it says here, voided the check number 92785 and reissued this check. Then voided the check 93263. They returned the check, voided, and they thought they had returned the first check. So it was just a mismatch of things. So we actually had to void this particular check. And then the last question was, in the amount of $1,146. The vendor is First, FIRST. I looked at this and I couldn't, maybe someone can help me. It has one each season pass small for $1,270. And then an EV3 robot set, and this came out of the curriculum, so.
It may be for our robotics.
Yes, it
program.
has robot EV3, so that's for robotics. Thank you, Ms. Minor. Was there another question?
Okay. And this item is up for action.
Yes.
I need a motion for treasurer's item A as presented.
I move.
A second.
It's been moved and we have a second. Any questions? Being none, Ms. Allen, will you call the roll?
Mrs. Judah Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Mrs. Bozeman,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
and Ms. Moore.
Yes, motion passes. Next item, item 6, superintendent's report. And this is a resolution to approve the personnel agenda. Now, we did decide that we were gonna do the consent agenda, but when there are new things on here, we're gonna look at those, okay? So again, this is part of that. We will eventually get to the point where these items can be within the consent agenda, especially once personnel is in place. And also, Ms. Allen with the financial reports. Okay.
Correct. The only change is under the the classified personnel, and we added the 21st century food service staff. This was the group of folks that will be responsible for serving the meals after school. Very hard area to kind of staff, and we finally finalized that. This list of individuals mid last week, and we wanted to make sure we got it approved to ensure the start of our program. But other than that, everything else should be as read during the work session. Those individuals are highlighted on the certified agenda, B3, yes.
That's the only change.
Yes.
Need a motion for superintendent item A as presented.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions?
Yes. There are 11 21st century food service requirements.
Food service staff members?
Mhm.
Yes, we run a central warehouse, well, central kitchen, where we prep the food and we also deliver the food to the sites. So some of those I believe two or three of these individuals also serve as subs in the program, but we run this through the high school kitchen, and we distribute from the high school kitchen to the other sites, including delivery.
Is that like when they brought food to our church?
It's similar, but that's through the summer food service program. This is 21st Century, so it delivers it to the buildings.
Same concept though.
Yeah, right. And then also we also include this group of folks for the central serving site at the high school that is open to whatever after school programming we have. So we feed the band, we feed the football team, we feed anybody within that time period that wants to come and eat a meal.
Okay.
And the high school services at central site.
So those at the high school are also paid so we can also pay them.
All of the meals are reimbursable through the food service program.
Okay.
Yeah. So that cost is paid through food service.
When will the 21st Century program start?
It started Monday, the morning. Yeah.
I just realized that I tell you that. So the AM session started on the 14th. And our staff was present at parent-teacher conferences. They have booths set up to speak about the program, to confirm seats that were in the program and all of that. And then next week we'll have the before and after school. So right now we have 50 to 50 slots filled at the ELC with the waiting list. We're at 44 out of 50 at Madison Park. And then we're at 33 of 50 at Westbrook Village. And we're still working through the list.
And food service is not paid through the grant. These 21st Century Food Service, these are paid through the reimbursable meals. So this is not paid through the grant. These are all paid through our food service program.
Okay, and that's what I was thinking, but because it said 21st, I got you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anytime we pay food service people, we pay through the self-sustain.
School's calling.
Oh,
Oh, the school's calling you? All
That's why
right.
my phone's
Robocall?
Yeah.
that would probably be about the lockdown that we had tonight. Yeah, that's
My,
just informing you about
yeah.
the lockdown we had at the high
We'll
school.
do that in the update, okay? All right.
Just letting her know.
All right, okay.
Okay, got
All
it.
right,
phone.
thank you.
School.
All right, yes. I noticed that under the B4, the following extra service contracts, I don't know if you guys have looked at the dollar amounts. They have increased, and that's based on the negotiated agreement, getting everybody on the right steps in the years. I noticed it last 2 weeks ago when we voted on it, and I actually pulled out an old agenda, and I looked at that agenda, and I said, wow, this is a significant increase. However, we were on the wrong scale. So, when you look at those numbers, it looks like we finally aligned those supplementals with the steps, the correct steps in education. Any other questions, comments? Being none, Ms. Allen, we call the roll.
Mrs. Bozeman,
Yes.
Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Mr. Scarce,
Yes, abstain on B4.
Mrs. Jeter Freeman,
Yes, abstain on A3.
A3,
A3.
okay, and Ms. Moore.
Yes. Motion passes. Next item up, we're looking at any board comments. Mr. Andrews, we'll start with you.
I don't have any at this moment.
Thank you. Mr. Scarce?
I have none.
Ms. Bozeman?
Me neither. I'm good to go.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Jeter Freeman?
None.
Okay, and I have no comments tonight, other than, thank you for the presentation. I appreciate that. A lot of information. We may actually come back to you, Mr. Howard, during the retreat if we have questions and pull that information out as well. And a reminder that there is a board retreat on Saturday. We'll start at 8:30.
Correct.
Okay. We have our building administrators and principals, and then we have our directors. We have report out superintendent. We're going to miss you, Miss Allen. All right. However, we are going to have a meeting with Miss Allen. I believe it's the first Monday in
November 6th.
November 6th. November 6th. We're looking at an overview for your budget, right? Five-year forecast. So I think everybody got that information, but we'll have a reminder of that. Another thing I wanted to share is October 29th. We'll be in Columbus for the, what is it, Mr. Howard? OAAE.
A lot of letters.
I'm making up letters now, okay? But it's a conference where we are actually going to be talking a little bit about some things that we're doing. And it all revolves around the strategic plan. We had quite an investment in that initiative. And so we're going to talk about that and how we align that with the PLC and the intervention approaches to move the district forward and to change culture and climate. So that's going to be a part of that. It starts at 10:45. It's our session and it goes till noon.
When is that?
October 29th, and it's at the Hilton Easton in Columbus. I'll send you the information. I thought you know.
Is that the grant meeting?
I don't know.
Is that Title I?
Yes, that's Title I meeting. You'll be there?
Yeah, so I was going because of the grant piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're actually on the agenda. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's nice. That's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is follow-up, and we're not dropping any balls. Things that were set in place, we're moving forward. Really and truly, the district has a plan, and we have systems and structures that we're putting in place, and all of those things are going to be as is and set, regardless of who's in the seat, and who's at the helm. So that's part of that. So that's on the 29th. Also, board, I sent out an email today. Our proposal was accepted for NAPSE, National Alliance of Black School Educators, for November 13th through 17th. It's a national convention for us to have an individual session. I don't have the day that we're actually doing it or the time, but I'll have that tomorrow. The submission was over the weekend, basically, with the PowerPoint and all of those things. Here is what we did last year. We had a point, and I think it was 608 to great. That was our title. And now follow-up. Where are we at? And it's just really one team, one fight. So we are talking about those strategic goals and how we've aligned those strategic goals to our approach for culture and climate and to move the district forward. I'll send out a draft PowerPoint for the board and for those that can attend. And we need to get that information into Kim immediately. She didn't have my flight arrangements or anything like that, but flight arrangements and our lodging and that sort of thing. Mr. Howard, you and I talked about this proactively. I know that you had a commitment for that timeframe. Were you able to speak with your administrator director?
Yeah.
Okay.
We spoke.
Okay, we'll follow up, okay? I'll connect with you, Ms. Minor, and we'll go from there, all right? Other than that, I'm sorry, Ms. Allen, did you,
I just was wondering, I was looking at the discussion items and then there was discussion.
oh, I'm sorry, you know what? All of this rolled up too quick for me.
Yeah,
Maybe I was
I thought
trying to
you
get out of
might.
here. No,
No, I
I'm
thought you
sorry.
were going back
No,
to those.
I can, all right? I thought we were done, all right? Thank you, Ms. Allen. We got that out of the way. Discussion items, Five Rivers Health Center.
Five Rivers is still actively in construction. If you come during the school day, you will see, and as you park in the back, you'll see the fencing that is the active construction site. The original goal of the end of October is not going to happen due to some hurdles that they found in construction. They are actively trying to correct those. Their initial date of completion, not opening, was mid-November. We're looking now, hopefully, by the end of November, with their time frame. There were some structural things some structural issues that they've run into that will not be up to code for a medical facility. So they're working through those though, and our folks are actively involved in getting updates. We had a stakeholders meeting yesterday. I believe we had a stakeholders meeting yesterday with the folks from Five Rivers, and they're keeping us up to speed as far as the construction is concerned. It is definitely a construction site, and one of the issues was some of the foundational issues with for drainage in the area back here on making sure we can get all of that stuff out of the facility. So they're working through those issues, and as soon as I have more information, I'll share with the board.
Is that still their cost?
Yeah, we're not paying for anything.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not paying for anything.
I think they had $600,000, that the recent allotted amount, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
600 and-
Another investment. Yeah.
Yeah. Tutoring.
We know that there has been the question about what are we doing for those other students, those students that are maybe significantly behind or need some additional support. We have discussed several different options, and Ms. Minor, you can come up if you want and just talk a little bit about what our initial plan is, when we're going to get started, and what that's going to look like.
Good evening, and thank you for the questions that you have regarding the other students that aren't a part of the 21st Century Grant. We recognize that everyone needs an opportunity, so we do have a comprehensive program planned from K through 12 as an opportunity for after-school tutoring and enrichment. I've met with each one of the principals to provide them with some of the guidelines that we'll have from central office as far as metrics to monitor the program that's outside of 21st Century, as well as the actual 10-week session and some parameters around that. And so we have targeted timelines to begin. The middle school, they're ahead of the game. Some of their people have already been board approved, so they can start as early as October 28th. The others were told we need those names submitted as soon as possible, so those teachers can be board approved and we can start those programs. So we're looking at the end of October, and the other programs where we have to get board approved into November 4th or the 11th, just depends on the timing of it and approval.
This was a discussion at our district leadership team meeting, and one of the things, speaking on behalf of the board, I don't do that often, but was that the question that you had about those other students, I know that we had discussed that extensively, and the one thing we did want to make sure we did was to cover all of the students and not just those 50. So thank you.
What will be the focus for the tutoring for those particular students?
It's going to be determined by the data. So K-5, reading and math intervention, as well as some enrichment. We want them to have some of those experiences as well. When we get to the middle and high school, it's also going to be those targeted reading and math interventions, credit recovery, ACT prep, things that are aligned to that college career readiness with enrichments. So our metrics will be aligned to what is needed at each building. And we've given each principal the direction to finalize everything and get it into us as soon as possible, because we'd like to start all of them, if not at the end of October, into November.
And this is ongoing. This isn't just something. How long is this supposed to last?
For the funding that we have right now, we have it established for 10 weeks. So if it started in November 4th, it would go all the way up until January 31st. Then we have another do another 5 to 6 week session. We're still waiting for some funding allocations. A lot of our Title I funds are in salaries right now. And so once we secure some of the wellness funds and other things that come in, we'll be able to add to that all the way up to testing. But right now, we have a 10-week session set up that we know we can fund.
People gotta be paid.
And with all of those students, the intent is to feed and transport them if they do need those.
That's great.
Yeah, we met with both food service and transportation today, so they are aware that they're gonna get a whole new group now that they're getting started with the 21st century, just so they're prepared.
What will it take to make a lasting and consistent investment in a program like that?
All the way through May.
Forever? Like just, because what I fear is we do, we do this for 10 weeks, we do it for whatever, and then, just kind of falls off. And then, if we're gonna make lasting change, what does it look like to do it consistently and to be able to provide it for those kids that need it ongoing, even as a tool that we can promote to families as to why they should send their kids here? I think if we're gonna make the investment, we need to just go on and make it. And, what does that look like?
We really need to manage the budget and look at make some decisions to allocate enough dollars to guarantee it through the end of the year. Because I'm also thinking about summer programming and making sure we have funding for that. So we'll be working collaboratively with the treasurer's office to make sure we have the appropriate funds.
And it's an effort of definitely trying to be innovative in a sense, because we do understand that things like this do cost the district, they do cost the district money. But with the wellness dollars that we've obtained, with Title I, we're really trying to dig down into the numbers to identify how we can really put a program like this in addition to the 21st century, because we also have to think about in a few years, the 21st century dollars won't be there. So we're really trying to dig down into the numbers to see what something like this would cost in a 10-week. And I think Lisa did an outstanding job as identifying 10 weeks, because that can give us a time frame to see, okay, after 10 weeks, this is what our expenditures were. And then how can we extend something like this? What would it cost? So on and so forth. It's the staffing that we have. Do we need more? Do we need less? So I think, initially with the 10-week session, we've identified a forecasted budget, and then we'll look down and see what we actually spent once we move through the process.
And our plan was to do 10 weeks, give that staff that most of them, 80% of them are teaching all day.
Right.
So when they're going nonstop like that, they need a break. So there would be a week break and then another session to begin. And then when I calculated the timing, it's about 6 weeks up until testing after that.
So, and just so I'm sure I heard you correctly. So we won't know how much it costs until it's over?
No, we have the budget.
No,
We know how much we're gonna.
we have a forecast to cost. Yeah, but then you're gonna see your actuals after your 10 weeks.
Right.
Based upon the number of students that we have.
Okay.
We know exactly how much it's gonna cost. We wanted, because we're gonna pull the metrics, we wanted to give it, last year was kind of loose. People coming and go, and we wanted more structured this year for that full, all the way up to the high school level. So 10 weeks, we're gonna pull the data, assess it, take a week off, do a plus delta, then start another session right after that.
Okay.
That's our plan.
How much does it cost?
Right now, we're looking at about $20,000 per building.
How much of that is salaries?
That's the salaries, and we're using our own resources that we already have for the materials. We're gonna purchase, because of enrichment, some materials, but it'll be minimum.
20,000 per building. All right, and that's all 5 buildings.
Yes.
Okay, so that's $100,000 in salaries for 10 weeks.
Yes.
And we're gonna utilize the resources that we've already
That
got.
we have built in.
Okay. What are those resources? Is it the computer programming?
Yeah, and the curriculum materials and resources, there's some for the enrichment programs that we will have to buy for like chess and checkers and things like that that are at the middle school. And I don't have all those costs yet. But again, we'll be getting some of the wellness dollars and things that we can use for enrichment and social emotional learning.
If it's gonna cost us $100,000 to provide a 10-week session for tutoring, can we look at other options that might be less expensive to offer the same thing?
Supplementals.
So, yeah. Is there any other institution out there that can do what we want to do for less money?
For organizations.
We can, I know when we partnered with the ESC in the summer, which was more like 5 weeks, it was close to 200,000.
Okay.
And I think the intent also is to get the folks that are most directly connected to the students, our teachers and our staff, get them, try to get them involved in the planning and the programming and managing of this program. I think what our goal is and our challenge is with the wellness dollars, with the Title I funds, is to do what we can to make sure that none of this is absorbed by the general fund. And it's just some work that we just have to really dig our heels in and try to do.
But I just want it to be impactful in a way that says the most important part of this is what is providing or what is being provided for the students. And if I can just speak frankly, it just seems like there's a lot of money being thrown into salaries. But
well, we're using the standard $31.44 with the teachers. And when you add in the benefits and all of that, it just adds up. As far as the impact, when we received the evaluation for 21st century, and obviously our model of after school is similar to that, and they did at the state level, and they compared the after-school programming across the state. According to Dr. Stock, Trotwood was one of the few districts that showed an impact from their after-school. Everyone else, it didn't show a significant change. So the systems that we've set in place for the past few years have been affected according to the data. And so we feel pretty confident for the programming that we're running that it will be impactful. But you're right, that's why we're watching the metrics and everything, because we don't just want it not to be organized. And we know we want to make an improvement to some of the things at the upper levels than it was in the past.
To add on to what Mr. Scare said, what I would like to see, and board chime in, is let's see what those resources look like. I just, I don't want to talk about a program and it's all funded in salaries. I want to talk about a program and what is in it for the kids along with, the instructional piece. It just seems like, again, what are those things? I think somebody mentioned, is it just kids sitting with headsets on in front of a computer?
The enrichment would be the robotics, the chess and checkers, the drama. It's a variety of things in each building. And we can, once it's all coordinated, because they're still giving me information about each program, we can bring it back and show you a full program similar to the 21st century.
And the teachers that are going to be providing the services, how are they chosen? I mean, if you have teachers that are doing robotics or theater or art or whatever, can they do it? I mean,
we have been for the past few years pulling the data and recruiting teachers with the most impact in the classroom. And so teachers that are ranked effective or approaching or highly effective are the first ones that we select. That's what we did through the summer. That's what we do for the 21st century. That's what we'll be doing for this. Definitely looking at the data.
That was part of the discussion during the DLT, is that if we're using more of our teachers that are in the classrooms with the students, the outcome will be greater because they're in the classroom, they know where the deficiencies are with a lot of the students. So that was my understanding, was that.
And Thanks for bringing that up and for that question. And I can share this at the retreat on Saturday so you can see the numbers. But you'll see a significant difference in the areas, our after-school areas where we used our teachers and ones where we may have used outside or not as targeted. You'll see a big difference.
Yeah. And also in the retreat, if you could bring the data that shows that we did have an increase where others were flat, and that would be interesting to know how.
Dr. Stock told us that the state was flat. I have the data to show ours was an increase. I can ask him, does he have anything to
Well, just to
show?
show ours was an increase.
Yeah, I can show you that.
Okay, that would be sufficient. Any other questions for Ms. Minor? Oh, one other thing, and I had an opportunity I forgot who I was talking to. Oh, Kiara, you mentioned that, the teacher rankings and ratings and the highly effective teachers. For the retreat, could you bring that information? Because one thing that we haven't done a good job is identifying who those teachers are and really celebrating their successes in the classroom and in the district, and actually looking at it overall. I know we at one point mentioned we had like 2 teachers that were highly ranked in the state or in the country, nationally ranked. I think that really warrants, first and foremost, some acknowledgement, and also what are they doing? I mean, because they had significant gains. Vanessa's always saying we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can look at what is happening in buildings with effective teachers, highly effective, not that everybody else isn't, but when they have those huge leaps and bounds and those gains, what are they doing? What were they doing? And, hopefully, are they still here with us? And if they are, we can pull from that.
We do have data for the fall benchmarking that we can share of those teachers that are showing significant. The AIR test, the value added rankings that I'm speaking to when I reached out to ODE, it's not complete yet. I'm not sure if I'll have it Saturday, but I can bring you data that we do have.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. What was that on tutoring? Okay, any committee reports?
We just have a Neola meeting set for is it the 30th, you said?
We're gonna shoot for 30th.
Yes,
We're shooting for the 30th.
Shooting for the 30th.
Okay. That's
Policy.
review. Is that a policy review?
Do update.
All right. Any other? Okay. Treasurer's comment?
Yes, I would just like to bring to your attention that under Treasurer's comments, if you look under your content, under the executive tab, there is the Finance Committee, the entire packet. I was telling my Finance Committee team members that I'm really excited because for this is the first time that you don't have all this paper in front of you, and that you can just go to whatever board agenda and pull that up. Oh.
I'll have it.
Well,
We'll talk.
Yeah, we'll talk, because I know.
I'll have it.
I know.
Everybody else have it?
I do.
Okay. Why don't I have it?
I know why, so we'll.
Okay. All right.
Meeting, okay.
All right. Thank you. All right.
So, that's all I have.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Howard.
I did just have a couple of items. The first is, it should be at your desk. There is just a flyer, general reminder about the graduation for the fall commencement celebration on Wednesday. I shared this a couple times. It's 6 to 8 at the high school, in the high school auditorium. There are a list of 5 or so young people that will be attending the commencement, and then the other 4 or so that will not be. But I just wanted to remind you guys about that. The next bit of information is the summary of the check presentation on the 25th at Springboro High School. I do need, again, one more time, just the understanding of who will be attending. The presentation will be at the end of the first quarter, which will probably be right around 7:30, 7:45. And it gives you a little summary of what the PA announcement is, what they're going to do, how the presentation is going to take place. And I just need to make sure I let them know your names of the folks that are attending. So is that okay?
I'll be there.
You'll be there? Okay. Anybody, okay?
I'll be there.
So everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody. So we can make sure I give them everybody's name. And they'll call us down to the field. We'll meet right in front of the student section at the 20-yard line. Call us down to the field. They say it'll be very brief, and they'll present a check to the board, myself, and we'll go from there. And last is just a flyer to discuss the City of Trotwood's Harvest Festival. Now, in the past, they've done the walk with the booths, but it doesn't outline that on there, and they have not requested that information for us. So I don't know if they're doing something different. We're gonna touch base with the city and try to find out, but that is the information that they sent over as far as the harvest celebration for this year. And that's all I have.
Doesn't say trunk or treat.
Yeah, it doesn't. Thank you, Mr. Howard.
No problem.
Okay, we've already done our board comments, so we're gonna move to adjournment. I need a motion for adjournment.
I'll second.
Been moved in second. Any questions? Seeing none. Ms. Allen, will you call the roll?
Yes.
Mr. Scares? Mrs. Jeter Freeman? Yes.
Yep. Yes.
Mr. Andrews?
Yes.
Mrs. Bozeman?
Yes.
And Ms. Moore?
Yes. Motion passes, meeting adjourned.